Let's now talk about matrices, and the way that I want to introduce this is just to start off with a fresh slate. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to just create a normal variable. Let's call it A, and give it just a normal double precision floating point number 3, and click enter. And now when we type whos, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've always talked about this class and these bytes as describing what's going on. But I don't know if you've noticed that there's also a size column here. And the size column represents how big this variable is in MATLAB. So if you go onto the internet and you look up MATLAB, maybe let's try find MATLAB. Okay, and let's go to Wikipedia. You'll see that it actually stands for Matrix Laboratory, and it was actually developed using C and C++, I believe. Yeah, written in C, C++, Java. And some MATLAB is actually written in MATLAB as well, right? So it's like a chicken or an egg thing. But the basic idea is that MATLAB was a program that was originally written to do matrix algebra and to do a lot of matrix manipulations. A lot of scientific computing ends up being all about linear algebra and matrices. Even things that aren't linear, turns out. So I think as you do more scientific work, you'll realize that matrices come up all over the place. Very, very important topic in science and engineering. And so MATLAB was actually written to try and make matrix algebra and linear algebra and all of these things related to matrices and vectors much easier to do on the computer. So why I tell you this is because everything in MATLAB, Matrix Laboratory, is a matrix. So even this variable A over here, it is a matrix, and it's a matrix of size 1 by 1. It's a 1 by 1 matrix, which is quite funny to think about. But everything in MATLAB is a matrix. So if I typed name again, and I put it into inverted commas, and I write David, and then I type whos, name is actually, it's a character data type. It has 10 bytes, but it's also a 1 by 5 matrix, so it's a row vector in MATLAB. That's how they're representing the data. Everything is actually a collection of numbers or characters in a matrix. And that's very important because MATLAB is all about matrices, and there's a lot of functionality built in just into the basic MATLAB that you can do very, very powerful matrix manipulation. So you can define matrix powers, you can do matrix multiplication, you can cut out rows and vectors, you can transpose, you can invert, do all of these things. Everything that you've learned in first and second year, you can do very easily in MATLAB, and that's why MATLAB was invented, for that reason. But the point that I'm trying to make is that matrices are sort of like the most basic type of representation in MATLAB, and so we need to be able to try and represent matrices. So there's going to be a number of videos on matrices and vectors. I just want to give you an introduction to what it is and why it's important. So in the next few videos I'll explain how to create matrices. I suppose we're already creating matrices intrinsically by just creating variables, but in the next few videos I'm going to explain how to make your own matrices of your own size. I want like a 3 by 15 matrix. How do I do that? So I'll show you that next.